Welcome to Your Deep Dive. Today we'll be exploring excerpts from Warrior's Way by Robert de Ropp.
Hmm.
It's a fascinating blend of autobiography and philosophical reflection.
Oh, very much so.
Our mission is to uncover the essence of de Ropp's Warrior's Way.
Yeah.
Think of it as a guide to facing life's challenges with resilience and self-awareness.
Yeah, it's not about physical combat,
Yeah,
but about inner strength.
exactly. And to understand this concept, we need to start with de Ropp's early life.
Right.
It's clear from his writing that even as a young boy, he felt this deep sense of not belonging.
Yeah, this feeling of displacement fuels his lifelong search for meaning.
He talks about his time in boarding school as particularly difficult,
Yeah.
almost soul-crushing.
Hmm.
What was it about the British education system that he found so stifling?
Well, he saw it as rigid and unimaginative.
Right.
De Ropp had a curious mind, always questioning, always seeking deeper understanding.
Hmm.
The rote learning and strict discipline of the school system clashed with his inherent need to explore.
That makes sense. And then there's this stark contrast with his time on his grandfather's estate in Lithuania. It almost sounds idyllic in his description.
It was a formative experience for him.
Yeah.
In Lithuania, he connected with the peasant way of life.
Right.
He admired their hard work, their resilience, and the joy they found in simple things. He was especially struck by their strength in the face of hardship.
Yeah.
It was his first encounter with a way of being that resonated with his developing concept of the warrior's way.
So we can see the seeds being planted here. On one hand, the stifling conformity of his boarding school, and on the other, the quiet strength and resilience of the Lithuanian peasants.
Exactly. It's like those experiences formed the two ends of a spectrum he was trying to navigate.
Then he ends up in Australia and faces some serious hardship.
Right.
It sounds like this was a real turning point for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He describes it as hitting rock bottom. It was a moment of reckoning where he was forced to confront his own weaknesses and make a choice, sink or swim.
And he chooses to swim.
He does.
It's in this moment of crisis that he vows to become the master of his own fate.
It's a powerful shift in his thinking.
Yeah.
He realizes that he can't rely on external circumstances or other people to define his path.
Right.
He has to take control of his own life.
This newfound determination leads him to the Royal College of Science, where he delves into the world of scientific inquiry.
Right.
What drew him to science?
De Ropp had a voracious appetite for knowledge. He was captivated by the scientific method, the process of observation experimentation, and the search for evidence-based truth.
Right.
He was particularly fascinated by biology, the study of life itself.
It's interesting that he also mentions his love for Goethe's Faust,
Right.
which is a story about this relentless pursuit of knowledge and understanding.
Yeah,
It seems de Ropp was searching for answers beyond the realm of science.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He wasn't just interested in facts and figures.
Right.
He was grappling with the big questions. What is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
What is our purpose? What does it mean to live a good life? Faust embodied that same yearning for something more than the mundane Misha, a desire to unravel the mysteries of existence.
And then, somewhat unexpectedly, he gets involved in communist politics.
It was the 1930s,
Right.
a time of great social and political upheaval. People were searching for solutions to the widespread poverty and inequality of the time.
Right.
De Ropp was drawn to the communist ideals of social justice and equality.
Right.
He was looking for a way to make a difference in the world.
But he ultimately becomes disillusioned with the movement. What were the specific reasons for that?
Well, he began to see the inherent flaws in the ideology. He witnessed firsthand the dogmatism and hypocrisy within the communist movement.
Right.
He realized that any ideology, when taken to extremes, can become just as oppressive as the systems it seeks to overthrow. This was a crucial realization for him.
Yeah.
It solidified his distrust of easy answers and one-size-fits-all solutions.
So he's disillusioned with politics, grappling with these existential questions.
Yeah.
And then World War II is looming on the horizon. What a time of upheaval and uncertainty.
It was a pivotal period in his life.
Yeah.
The world was teetering on the brink of chaos, and he was desperately seeking a way to navigate it all.
Right.
This is when he encounters a man he refers to as the Teagle.
This encounter seems crucial in his development of the warrior's way.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Teagle and his influence on de Ropp.
The Teagle was a mysterious figure who introduced de Ropp to the concept of yoga and self-duty. He emphasized the importance of self-discipline, inner strength, and facing challenges with a sense of purpose.
Right.
It wasn't about escaping the world, but engaging with it in a more conscious and deliberate way.
It's almost like all these early experiences, the feeling of not belonging, the rigid education, the resilience of the Lithuanian peasants, the disillusionment with politics, the looming threat of war are all converging in this moment. He's searching for a path, a way to make sense of the chaos around him and within him.
And the Tegel, with his introduction to yoga and self-duty, offers him a glimmer of that path. Yeah.
It sounds like this encounter with the Tegel was the beginning of Ropp's journey toward a different kind of strength.
Yeah.
One that wasn't about physical prowess or political ideology, but about inner resilience and self-mastery.
Exactly. And this journey takes him on a fascinating path, encountering a series of individuals who further shape his understanding of himself and the world he meets. Cork, a pragmatic, no-nonsense woman who stresses the importance of action over dwelling on the past. She becomes a kind of mentor, pushing him to confront his weaknesses and move forward.
She seems like the embodiment of that tough love approach. What other figures influenced him during this period?
He also spends time with the Vaughan Williamses, a kind and artistic couple who represent a gentler way of life. They embody compassion and creativity, but lack a scientific understanding of the world.
It's like he's encountering these contrasting perspectives, these different expressions of strength and resilience.
Precisely, he's piecing together his own understanding of what it means to live a meaningful life. And then he meets Ouspensky and Madame Ouspensky.
These are the authoritarian teachers, right? The ones who introduce him to Gurdjieff's teachings.
Yes, and they have a profound impact on him. Ouspensky and Madame Ouspensky are strict and demanding, pushing Ropp to confront his limitations and strive for something beyond his ordinary self. They introduce him to Gurdjieff's concept of work on being, which essentially means that most people are asleep to their true potential.
So how does work on being awaken us to that potential?
It involves conscious effort, self-observation, and a willingness to challenge our ingrained patterns of thinking and behaving. Gurdjieff believed that through intentional suffering, we could break free from the grip of our mechanical selves and awaken to a higher level of awareness.
It sounds intense. And then, of course, World War II breaks out, disrupting everything.
War always forces a confrontation with mortality, with the fragility of life. Ropp marries E amidst this chaos, and they have a child. But tragedy strikes when E descends into schizophrenia.
That must have been incredibly difficult for him, facing such personal suffering while the world around him is falling apart.
It was a profound test of his developing warrior's way. Could he maintain his resilience and inner strength in the face of such immense pain and uncertainty? It's a question that stays with him as he eventually journeys to the New World.
America. A whole new set of experiences and challenges await him. What was his initial impression of the United States?
He found New York City overwhelming, a stark contrast to the quieter landscapes he was used to. He described it as a gigantic termitary, bustling with activity but lacking a soul.
It sounds like he felt a sense of alienation, almost mirroring his childhood feelings of not belonging.
You're exactly right. But amidst the chaos of New York, he finds himself at the Rockefeller Institute, a prestigious center for scientific research. His fascination with the problem of cancer takes hold here.
This is where his scientific curiosity and his deeper philosophical questions intersect. Tell us more about his work at the Rockefeller Institute.
At the time, Ropp's research into the role of viruses in causing cancer was considered cutting edge. The prevailing theory was that cancer was caused by chemical carcinogens or genetic mutations. But Ropp was exploring the idea that viruses could also play a role. This is a controversial theory at the time, but it has since been proven that certain viruses can indeed contribute to the development of cancer. So in a way, he was ahead of his time.
It's fascinating how his work in viral oncology mirrored his own internal struggles. He talks about this battle between his missionary side, wanting to help others, and his cynic side, skeptical of human nature.
That's such a relatable conflict, isn't it? This tension between wanting to make a difference in the world while also grappling with the darker aspects of humanity. And it's against this backdrop that he finally encounters Gurdjieff, the man whose teachings had been so influential in his life.
This encounter has been building up throughout the book. What was it like for him to finally meet Gurdjieff in person?
It was a complex and ultimately disappointing experience. Ropp had built up this image of Gurdjieff as an almost mythical figure. He was initially struck by Gurdjieff's presence and intensity, but he also sensed something wasn't quite right.
What do you mean?
Ropp began to see the flaws in Gurdjieff's methods. He found them to be manipulative and even cruel at times. He was also disturbed by the cult-like atmosphere surrounding Gurdjieff.
So the encounter left him conflicted.
Definitely, he still respected the depth of Gurdjieff's teachings, but he couldn't reconcile that with the man's behavior and the unquestioning devotion of his followers. It was a turning point for Ropp, a reminder that even the most revered teachers are human and fallible. This experience further solidified his commitment to critical thinking and his distrust of blind faith.
And this takes us into the era of psychedelics and the counterculture movement. Ropp finds himself surrounded by a whole new wave of seekers experimenting with consciousness and challenging societal norms. What was his perspective on this cultural shift?
Yeah, it was a time of radical experimentation, a search for new ways of being. Figures like Timothy Leary and Ken Kesey were advocating for psychedelics as tools for expanding consciousness.
Right.
And Ropp, ever the scientist and seeker, was drawn to explore these ideas.
But he approached it all with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right.
He was wary of gurus promising easy paths to enlightenment and was critical of the hedonistic tendencies he saw within the counterculture.
Yeah.
Remember, he had already experienced the dangers of blind faith and unquestioning devotion.
He wasn't dismissive of the movement's ideals, though.
Oh, no.
He saw the value in questioning societal norms and expanding consciousness.
Right.
What ultimately led him to move away from this scene.
Well, Ropp experimented with psychedelics.
But ultimately abandoned the search for a magic pill solution to life's challenges.
Right.
He felt that the counterculture's focus on altered states was a form of escapism, or way of avoiding the difficult work of self-awareness and personal transformation.
Yeah.
This led him to refine his concept of the warrior's way,
Right.
shifting away from external solutions and focusing more deeply on cultivating inner strength and resilience.
And this is where his interest in biofeedback comes in. What drew him to this practice?
Biofeedback at the time was a relatively new field.
Right.
It involves using technology to monitor bodily functions like heart rate, muscle tension, and brainwave activity. Ropp saw its potential as a tool for self-regulation, for gaining greater control over our physiology and understanding the mind-body connection.
Right.
He believed that by becoming more aware of our internal states, we could learn to manage stress, improve our health, and even influence our emotional well-being.
It sounds like he was trying to find a way to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. He wasn't rejecting science, but he was looking for ways to integrate it with a deeper understanding of the self.
Exactly. He saw that science could provide valuable insights into the workings of the human body and mind. But he also believed that true transformation required more than just knowledge. It required wisdom, the ability to apply knowledge in a meaningful way and live in accordance with our values.
This brings us to his final reflections on the warrior's way. He talks about seekers after truth as those who are willing to let go of illusions and confront reality honestly.
Yeah.
What does he mean by this?
He's talking about the importance of self-awareness, of being willing to question our beliefs and challenge our assumptions. It's about seeing the world as it is not as we wish it to be. And this isn't always easy.
Right.
It requires courage to face our own limitations, our own shadow side.
He also talks about the struggle of the magicians, this ongoing battle between light and darkness.
This idea speaks to the duality of human nature. We all have the capacity for both good and evil, for kindness and cruelty. The warrior's way is about recognizing this duality within ourselves and choosing to align ourselves with the forces of light, with compassion, wisdom, and understanding.
In the end, Ropp chooses a simpler life, stepping away from teaching and embracing personal exploration. What can we learn from his journey?
Ropp's life was a testament to the power of resilience, of constantly seeking questioning and evolving. He reminds us that the warrior's way is not about achieving some final destination or conquering the world. It's about the ongoing process of self-discovery, of facing challenges with courage and integrity, and living in alignment with our deepest values.
So if life is a game, as Ropp suggests, what kind of player do you want to be? What aspects of the warrior's way resonate with you? How can you apply these insights to your own life and challenges?
These are the questions Ropp leaves us with, urging us to embark on our own journeys of self-discovery and to embrace the challenges of life with a warrior spirit.
And that concludes our deep dive into Warrior's Way. We hope you found this exploration insightful and thought-provoking.
Until next time, may you continue to seek to question and to embrace the journey of becoming the best version of yourself.